ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to Petty Time with Petty Murphy here at Akata News Network, where we talk about the obviously not so obvious things that are hidden in plain sight. With that said, we're going to get over to this clip, which will be followed by a brief breakdown by our one and only Nap Turner. And with that, we say, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news.
You ever wondered about the song The 10 Little Indians and what it really means? Let's have a gander. See, it says minstrel song right there, 10 Little Indians. The lyrics we all knew as children, but it actually came from an 1868 minstrel song. It the derivative song in books were the 10 little, well, ain't that about a bitch? So then who were these motherfuckers on the reservations then? If the 10 Little Indian books was about the 10 little, akatas, as the visitors call us, or ain't this about a bitch? Well, I'll be damned. Okay. Let's do one more. The 1968 Civil Rights Act, right? Oh. Indian Civil Rights Act. Bing bong, ain't that about a bitch? So hold on. Later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. I Have a Dream, Martin Luther King, 1963, March on Washington, followed up by the 1968 Indian Civil Rights Act. Then we gonna put on to that the 10 little engines, and as we see here, yeah, stop letting these motherfuckers play in your face. It's time for us to completely delineate.
So I do what I call a translation of the English language, and I spell that Trance with the idea that words cast spells. So when you translate that life sentence, you remember that a wake is a funeral party for the dead. Mourning is the state you're in when you attend a wake. And you would have to be in a weak daze to earn the living, since urns are for the ashes of the dead. We call our jobs undertakings. Job itself is a Hebrew word for persecuted. And what we get at the end of this perverse bargain with life is the weak end of the deal, as we become progressively weakened ourselves. And so our most prevalent greeting to each other is hello, the reverse of which is, oh, hell.
Birth certificate is a security on the stock exchange in the New York stock market. Did you know that? Because if you order your birth certificate, get a new one, order your birth certificate, it'll only cost you, sometimes it's free, it'll only cost you a few dollars. Order your birth certificate. On your birth certificate, all birth certificates in this country, on the bottom it will tell you this is printed on security papers. Do not accept if not on full color security paper. Then on the right hand corner you will always have a series of numbers, red numbers, printed on the birth certificate. Those numbers are a security stock exchange number on the World Stock Exchange. You go to any good stock office and ask them, check these numbers in your computer and see how much this stock is worth, the certificate. And they will check it on the New York Stock Exchange.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to get right to it, right? Now, I say this all the time. The world is a stage. Nothing's being hidden. Everything is right there in plain sight. It's just that there's been so many reclassifications. And you can go look at the reclassifications that our people that we now go under the umbrella as foundational Black Americans have gone through. So whether it's ADOS, Solon, foundational Black Americans, the copper-colored races of the indigenous Hebrew Israelite. But if your lineage ties to this land, we all under the same umbrella. We are all the same people. What we really need to understand is that, and I know what I'm about to say may sound a little weird to people, but everybody waiting for the sky to crack and for something to descend out the sky and come save you. Everything you need to save you is already in you and it's encoded in your DNA. You just have to fucking remember and understand that in the late 1800s, the United States became a corporation. And when the book tells you, oh, my people come up out of Babylon, that is you reclaiming your status, because that birth certificate is a bond that is traded internationally. That means every U.S. corporation citizen under the District of Columbia is chattel. All of us are slaves if you have a birth certificate. It is what it is. Ain't no two ways around it. You think I'm bullshitting? Look it up for yourself. That being said, if you actually go around the planet and look at all the remains of all the ancient architecture and how advanced it was, the pyramids up in the mountains of Peru, there in Yuku, 28 stories underground, built with bronze hammers and chisels, of course, right? Things that we say now, that they say now, with us living allegedly or supposedly in the height of our technological existence as a species, but they don't know how they built it and can't recreate it. That's because we're in what they call the little season. And the dragon's loose. And it's up to you to free yourself and reclaim your sovereignty, your God-given birthright. They've been telling us who we are for years, but because of the way he told his story, we fell for the play. And when you have things like the Boule actively assisting the Divine Nine and assisting these 13 families that sit at a round table as they square that circle, they're playing in our faces. They have been using our own people to deceive us. But Martin Luther King told you, we in exile in our own land. Malcolm X said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock landed on us. Remember the whole debacle with 23andMe over the summer? Everybody stepping down? Actually go through those records. And all the people on the Dawes rolls, the initial Dawes rolls of the 5 civilized tribes, the 5 civilized nations, go look at their places of birth. And then start asking yourself, wait a minute, shit's not adding up. There's a reason why. After inauguration, it was said that there was only one group of people that couldn't be removed that got rid of birthright citizenship. Read the room, ladies and gentlemen. Read the room. Look up the definition of native, and then you look up the definition of indigenous. Christopher Columbus told you when he got off that ship what he saw. Copper colored individuals with woolly hair. Ferdinand. So you ask yourself this. Everyone's waiting for the rapture, right? You go all through Eastern Europe. You go all through Asia. That's why the Buddha has Bantu knots. At one point on the planet, even I've shown you the tapestries from 14th, 15th century, what is now modern day Germany. And you watch Game of Thrones, you know, the blonde hair, blue eyed cats that ride the dragons, that came from somewhere. But they were of Moorish descent. They look just like we do. And the history tells the story. But my question is, what happened to all these black people? Was there a global genocide that was written out of history? Or was that the rapture? This is that little season. Strange as it may sound, it is what it is. I can't believe I'm actually saying this shit out loud, but just read the room, ladies and gentlemen. The Library of Congress is a wealth of knowledge. Every text that you need to go through to find the truth, who we are, what actually happened on this planet, they're all there. You can start off by looking up what Benjamin Franklin actually said about the global population and what the original inhabitants of the Americas actually looked like, as well as France, Spain, Germany, and so on. There's this word, it's called swarthy, and it's derivative from Schwartz, which means black. Abraham Lincoln himself was also described as swarthy, but I digress. But yeah, as you know, I always say, my bad. As I always say, realize, and transparency forces accountability. So y'all keep your eyes to the stars and keep that head on a swivel. And remember, it's a dirty game.
And welcome back to the House Studios, ladies and gentlemen, here at Akata News Network on Petty Time with Petty Murphy, Solon's #1 edutainer at your #1 source for edutainment. Now, Petty has a question for all of you out there in the audience. Why the lie, ladies and gentlemen? And if we happen to be the 10 little engines, then who are the natives on the plantation? I mean, reservations. Maybe we should start checking the Ellis Island records. Calm down, Petty. Calm down. Well, it appears that everything's been, for years, hidden in plain sight, and the not so obvious things and the questions that we don't ever seem to really want to ask. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that you got your paperwork in order and trace that lineage and do that genealogy. Claim those unclaimed properties and those unclaimed accounts. And understand that we are in the little season. That social security number and that bond, that's your mark. The world is a stage. Now, the question is, are you going to continue to be a NPC or become the main character and start writing your own script? And a lot of that begins with first correcting your status, because as you know, we are in the little season. And if you know,
you know. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we bid you adieu. It is your man, the one, the only, foundational Black America's number one edutainer, Petty Murphy, here at Solon's number one source for edutainment, Akata News Network. Our time is now. Like, comment, subscribe, and share.